are the motherhood of all solutions, and at that moment, I decided to solve this issue to keep us all calm, stable, and neighborly. And as a very busy entrepreneur and a mother with very limited time to waste, it only took one more incident of being stuck between cars for my idea to be born. And with that, I present you Oopseez. Oopseez is a software as a service on a mission to help your community, help provide your community transparent communication, give you as a homeowner or a resident the peace of mind that you deserve when leaving your vehicle, and as well as an alternative solution to towing. 3 benefits I would like to offer you and your community is 1, an alternative to towing, an alternative to also dealing with parking conflicts that may arise. Virtual parking. Your guests can now actually sign in from any mobile device and be notified virtually, as well as yourself. We remove the burden from property management, who oftentimes are left to handle all of the conflicts that arise, and often left to be the third-party mediator and quintessentially the punching bag. But not anymore. With Oopseez on your premises, residents simply opt in. From that, we gather all of their basic information, vehicle license plate number, your email, first and last name, etc. And then we create a unique identifier, which is typically your license plate number. From that, when an instance does arise, a conflict arises, anyone on your property can simply enter in your license plate number, choose from our predetermined messages, and send you an immediate text or email directly to your phone. This helps pull management back from the front end and actually be calm at the desk and pull reports as needed, and allow residents to handle their conflicts one-on-one. So with that, if you are ready to change I told you to I told you, we are ready to opt you in, and I ask that you would please like us on Facebook.
Can you share your challenge question real quick?
Yes. So the challenge is that I am currently having. I have a small group. I have a small group of participation, but now I'm actually ready to launch out and target community areas and property management, just residential areas in a whole. So I would like some feedback on actually how to approach that. And then second, recommendations on what type of meetups would be best for me to be involved with. Since I'm looking to kind of go direct to consumer, but start off with direct to B2B. Sorry, I didn't mean to say D. Okay, B2B, but I would like to go B2C.
Okay, so we're now into a segment where now you heard the challenge questions. This is a part where you can then provide feedback as well as some questions you might have about the presentation. But before we get to that, Tony's telling me, please check in if you haven't done so. He's watching you.
I'm counting heads.
He's counting. The other thing is, as a part of our group, we want to let other people know about that we're here. So if you can do if you can use your social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, whatnot, to let other people know how exciting this group is. So I will also. The other thing is, there's a postcard in front of you. So if you get a chance to ask your question, please jot down your advice, the feedback, and questions. So if you can do that, that would be great. So who has a first question? Tell me.
What's your revenue model? How are you? What are you pricing this at, and how are you going to expecting to make money off of this app?
So there's actually 2 ways that I can approach that. It will be a cost-efficient monthly subscription of $6 per family of 2. Property management can choose to pass it through the residents so that way they can pay it individually, or we can include it in their HOA or their rent.
Okay.
All right. Anyone else?
Another question about your small group of current participants. What have they experienced using your platform and services? What really changed in their life? Do you have some reference stories and some examples?
Not so much reference stories because it's not so popular. We did not test to the full extreme. We just did a back-end test where they went in and they played around with all the gadgets and what's available, set up test scenarios.
Okay.
Okay, Jen?
But it was good feedback.
Are you, a recommendation would be to do a freemium model or something where you could at least, even if you don't do freemium, you could offer it free to a property management company for them to try it and see
Okay.
how it works.
Okay.
Because right now you really want testing and
Yes.
people to try it. Have you approached property managers yet, and what's been the response if you have?
I have approached property management. Their response as a non-decision maker is we prefer the free services of the towing company on our property. If there's a way that I can get direct to tenants and have the tenants actually have their property management influence it, I think that would be a better approach. But again, I would need a large pool to do that.
So I have some introductions I can make to people who run HOAs right now.
Okay.
So I think that might be another.
Oh, awesome.
And-
That would be great.
Okay, next question here in this.
Is your model that if there's a double parking situation or someone is parked like in multiple spaces that does not belong to them, that your app is going to allow them to generate a message that says, hey, you blocked me in, or hey, you're in my spot and that was my spot?
Yes. So what it does is if you happen to come home and find someone who's parked in your reserved parking space, this is only one example, you could send them a direct email or a message that says, oops, you've accidentally parked in my parking spot. They're all predetermined messages, or oops, you're needed back to your vehicle.
And so it means that I have your service and the person who's in my spot has your service?
Correct,
Or-
because it is a membership-based website, both would, however, to send a message, it is a free profile for that. The cost is only associated when you add your vehicle.
The reason I'm asking is I'm Muslim and I go to a mosque, and every Friday for prayers there are announcements about people who are double parked, get your cars out of the way so that the other people can exit the property. And it becomes a running joke and it's frustrating, and there's always a tow truck on site to remove the double parkers. So I know you're trying to sell this to property management, but there may be places of worship that also have to manage through these oopsie situations. And I don't know how you would convince them to membership it, but the concept is remarkable. And I can see a purpose for it, but I don't know how you would sell it, but I can definitely see a purpose outside of a home situation.
Thank you, and that's actually my idea, customer there, client. I would love to venture out and actually help provide services for parking lots such as yours. Thank you.
Okay, and what's next?
I live in a high-rise, passes for high-rise in this neighborhood, condominium building with retail. So there's often a conflict between the retail folks and the residents. The biggest issue is for people who don't fall within the community, the retail folks. Have you given any thought to how you might be able to expand the reach of this platform outside of the subscription base so that surely the people who are about to be towed would appreciate a notification before they get towed, but it's not clear to me how that communication might work. And so my question is, have you given any thought as to how to expand in that direction? And no is an okay answer.
I have. More so as having a property management be an influencer to say anyone who's parked on my property must opt in to Oopseez.
So even like retailers, because
Even retailers.
I've had something similar where before I moved here, I lived in Tennessee, and there was resident parking, but they also had restaurants and they had a pub. And one Memorial Day, I came out in the morning and my car was smashed. Somebody had hit it. But the grace of God, some people were out there because the person was going to do a hit and run. And they, although inebriated, got it enough together to say, hey, I can laugh now, but
Laugh in my pants.
But it was a Toyota Sequoia that actually had hit me. And I mean, coming out from work and you see your whole bumper off. I mean, I just went back in.
Laughter was not the noise you were making.
And unfortunately, when I called the police, they were like, "Yeah, somebody reported that last night." So, obviously that would have been great because there are more stories of people who didn't have something that witnessed that, and without it, I was going to have to pay my $200 deductible and take a hit. And my car was parked, and I was at home. So
Thank
that. You know, if you could get that in, that's definitely a way for retailers to be able to help their customers.
Thank you.
Question back there. Go ahead, yes.
Me? Okay. I'm on my condo board, and parking is always a huge issue, but it's kind of like kind of what's being said, that it's hard to get both of the people to even communicate, because a lot of people, even if our property manager calls to tell people they're being towed, sometimes they don't answer. But I was thinking, like, I use Waze a ton, and one of the kind of draws of Waze is that it's kind of like gamification. You get points and stuff like that. So it might be a really good idea, or just a thought in my head, to actually make it more of a game where you get rewards some way, so it encourages everybody to kind of do it. And then when you have everybody point out if something happens, then you get points or something for that if you mark in their license plate number. And that way, that'll encourage more people, and then the property manager will come after the fact because so many people are already on it. So that's all.
Thank you.
Tony?
What are the workarounds?
Say your name and your business, please.
Tony Barnett. Coming recently from the LPR industry, I know a lot of the frustrations you probably had in developing this and trying to come up with the community aspect of it. Have you thought about doing a mass notification when the app, or is this capability already there? That when someone, because not most of the time, especially in a community lot, a car that's not supposed to be there is usually a guest of somebody else who's staying over. Does your app have the ability to send out a notification with the license plate to everybody who's a member saying this car is illegally parked, and send it out to all of the members in that group? So that way now someone gets a notification, oh, Bob, your car's about to get towed, who happens to be at like someone's party that night. Does it have that capability in it?
It does not have that capability, but it does have the capability of housing the guest information. So that way the guest would get the text and email immediately.
But the guest has to opt in.
The residents already opt in.
Okay.
So the resident would actually add as a guest underneath their profile.
Okay.
And just to build off of that, maybe you could look at them to have their license plate number, like if somebody, so even if it's a retailer, I mean, at least if you have either something you have to code in when you get there that you have to give your license plate number, or if there's cameras that catches a license plate number, I mean, something, and I'm just thinking again of my situation.
Okay.
You know, the license plate was key, so.
Okay, thank you.
Questions, Jen, and then over there.
I would look at maybe advertising or leveraging Nextdoor. It's a neighborhood community app, and so it is by community, and so if you just on board by community, that's a thought. Another one was talking with people who do conferences or conference centers, event planners, people who might want to leverage that, so that people that are attending a conference or that they can get notifications.
Okay, thank you.
First of all, just how brilliant it is that you had a challenge and you came up with this whole concept. It is, amazing to me. Every software as a service that I had, and I pay $10 a month or $15 a month for probably 10 of them. Started out with 90 days, get me hooked for free.
Okay.
And you need enough time where a couple of conflicts get avoided, where a couple of people don't get towed,
Okay.
so that communities and organizations are just absolutely hooked on this product, and the game, between the gamification and everything else, once they get used to that, and even if you can keep it free and just use advertisement, and make it part of the culture, I think you get a brilliant idea.
Okay.
All right. So we'll do Martin here, back there, Katie.
Okay, yeah, two things. I like the ID, being sold instead of towed, I get that. Where I'm not buying the idea of downloading your app and start using it is that I think it's competing with if I'm frustrated, there is an oopsie, I wanna get it resolved real quick, like your example. So you have to kind of find a communication strategy, I think, with your users to really help them to avoid that towing. It's still in my mind, do I call someone to tow the car, or someone to enforce that, or do I go oopsie, and it's not, there's something missing there. I think it's I'm not taking it yet. I like the idea,
Okay.
but you know, it's a lot of effort for me to do something to hopefully get someone notified, and then, you know, get the car out of the way and resolve that issue. So that's a criticism on the concept. I think you can mature there. There are
Okay.
ideas there, and just to bring in a piece of that is, why is it limited to car parking violations or oopsie situations? There are a lot of other things that frustrate me in a neighborhood that I would like to report, and then it becomes much more kind of, you know, something happens, not every day. But
Yes, thank you.
so maybe you can broaden the scope of that.
Yeah.
Alright, so before, if you can all jot down your comments, advice, I think these are all fantastic. So we'll go back there, Katie, back there, and then back to Ken. So, how you doing?
Do you have man, I'm sorry, I'm gonna hit you with like 3 questions, but feel free to answer any one. Do you have a test app, like something people can download as a beta group to take for a spin? My second question is, as far as partnering, who do you see as an ideal partner? Do you want to partner? Are you looking for investors? And if you're looking for investors, what is it that you would want to get out of that? That's it. Sorry.
If I can work backwards.
Please do.
Currently, I'm not looking for investors. I'm going to, I'll just leave it at that if I can. Partnering, I do plan on actually partnering with the towing industry to allow them to use my platform to notify the owners of the cars that they do tow, to let you know that, hey, we towed your car and this is the location where you can pick it up. And that removes the shock factor of arriving to an empty parking space. And your first question, it's actually a membership-based website. It's not an actual phone app at this moment. I'm not really sure if I want to go that way, because the accessibility is easier on the website, where everyone is accessible to the website.
So as a moderator, I get to ask a question.
There you go, John.
What's your name?
John. I think the partnership is a critical factor, especially when you're having a new app. You know, people don't know you, how do they find you, and just going through the whole downloading process becomes very challenging, right? But if you can partner with apps that already exist that does sort of similar things, but that doesn't offer your sort of feature, that could be a possibility to get it out there as quickly as possible.
Okay, yes, thank you.
All right, Katie.
Hi, I'm Katie Nelson with Sales Uprising, so it's not surprising when I say, so what's your revenue goal for 2019?
Good question. I don't have a complete revenue goal at the moment, not revenue focused, but I would like to have at least 4 property managements by the end of 2019.
Okay, and then my follow-up to that is, because this has to do with Oopseez, I don't know if any of you ever go to Reston Town Center, but they have a really big parking problem there. So the other place where you could look for potential target market is in security mechanisms, right? So there are parking attendants that have tons and tons of problems. It's actually a really bad look for Reston Town Center when these types of things happen. So if Oopseez is a part of an app already, like Park RTC, where you could get messages on a consistent basis, whether it could be from a parking attendant or from another driver.
Okay.
There's conflict that can be de-escalated.
Thank you.
Okay, good question back there.
So Dan with Golden Rule Home Watching Concierge, I like the idea this gentleman right here had about starting out as free and getting people hooked. What I found very helpful is getting a few customers and making them, and asking them and directing them to testimonials, and then shot the living daylights out of those testimonials, because people want to see how other people have gotten value,
Right.
and they're much more likely to continue. The second thing is, I don't know if maybe you talked about this, your preferred geography. So I'm thinking, as Katie said about Reston Town Center, I was thinking you may not want to do, well, the district, because there's always parking challenges in the district, but I'm not sure where you want to be geographically.
Okay. Oh, geographically, I would say Alexandria, Prince William County area to start.
Then we'll do Ken, Laura, Tony.
This is a question more for the incredibly knowledgeable 1 Million Cups community. Does anybody know whether the databases that connect license plates to car owners are publicly available?
No, they're not. That's a huge bone of contention in the LPR industry right now. There are court cases going on about people who are collecting license plates and trying to get information about the drivers. It's an ongoing thing. It's never going to be resolved, because communities are putting up license plate readers to track who's going in and out of their communities, and they're being sued because of the fact that certain organizations have found that to be a violation of civil rights.
With that said, may I put a plug in? Our messaging system is anonymous, by the way, just for security purposes.
Yeah. No, because one of the brilliant ideas would be to connect it to a database like that, and then whenever someone's illegally parked, send them a message saying, "Hi, you know, you parked you parked badly," but government doesn't let you do that.
Okay, good.
Here, and then Laura, and then back to Tony and
a couple of questions. So you mentioned that department managers, building managers, they're fine with the free towing they get now.
Yeah.
So I guess what is the pain point, and how are you going to get them to see that their future is better with your app? That's number one. And number two, to piggyback, I think you're right, or that comment earlier was right about Reston Town Center or Park Mobile, someone like that who is either going to be your competitor or your partner.
Okay.
But they have like they have a ready-made audience for you right there. But I think one of the problems is going to be those people like me who aren't signed up or double parked, like I almost did today. How are you going to let me know? But if you have Park Mobile, this is an additional feature for them that you can add in. So I guess the question in the comments, and the question now is the pain point of these buildings. How are you going to get them to see you're better off with paying me or having some service that you're providing, even though they're already getting that service for free?
I'm hoping that they would see that with Oopseez on their premises, that we will create a more lively environment, neighborhoods where you allow the neighbors to connect to neighbors, and I guess you eliminate the need for the vultures to come in and I guess tow the vehicles that are there. Residents are not a fan of having the towing industry come into their communities. So if I could get the influence of the residents, the voices of the residents to help back me up, which is why I do like the idea of partnering with Nextdoor. That's something that I will actually look into doing and get the voices from there.
Do Laura, Tony, and Rosemary, and Jen.
So I have a problem one time in another share office. Reston, I parked in a reserved parking. I thought it would take me a minute to go, and the car put the owner of the car behind me. So it took me 2 hours. He decided to move the car.
Oh wow.
So what I found is that when we were saying looking for clients, many of these share offices, like Office Evolution, like Metro offices, I can give a list. They need this kind of services, you know, because they have always share offices have trouble with the visitors, so the people who buy the services park places they should not park.
Okay.
So I think that we work. So there's a lot of share offices around the
Okay.
Virginia.
Thank you.
I know the
Office
CEO.
Evolution, we get free parking.
Yeah, I know the CEO of Office Evolution. If you want an introduction.
So I've been trying to work in my head how people would adopt this, how to get adoption, especially from visitors and so on in a general parking lot area. And the thoughts dawned on me that maybe what you're doing is you need to market this as a parking management application instead of just a community app for parking. And what I mean is this, that you have the property manager or the office building managing the app. Employees have to register and use the app when they're parking, okay? And use that as a parking management app so that they're allowed on property and verified to be on property, and tie that in with the tow companies so that now everybody understands that instead of, for instance, coming to Office Evolution and coming over and getting a parking pass to park in the garage, what you're told is if you want to park in our parking lot, download and install the Oopseez app. And that way you have the authorization to park here, and the towing company can then, using the app, identify if that person is registered or not.
Yes.
Really
Thank you. Yes.
That's why we pay him to come here.
That's because now there's a demand issue for that. Now the Office of Evolution and the other people in this building don't have to keep printing out and handing out flyers. And for that, going to the property management company here, which I'm sure John would be able to sit there and tag you into, now you're pitching as an option from this, using Oopseez app for everybody who was in this building to park in their spaces.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. Rosemary.
Hi, Rosemary Savino, Gravity, also a SaaS B2B app. So I want to piggyback on some topic that Martin actually brought up, because I think it's very relevant to your challenge questions. I heard at least 3 different business models for your business, and each one of them has a different target customer and a different ROI pitch. A lot of the great input we got from this team was pick one and focus your energy on the most impactful one of those. And so let's just say you decide that you are going to co-opt the towing industry rather than make them the enemy. You're going to make them a partner, and that's your primary, I'm just going to say that as an example, right? That's your primary business model to start with. Then you know exactly what groups to go to and what meetups or what groups to attend, and you can fashion your message. The told not towed is awesome, but for your first set of customers, it's how many times have the police been called on a tow truck, and how does that impact your profitability? Now what you've done is you've turned it around and eliminated a pain point for someone who may have come after you later once you had gotten community participation. So find the right business model to start, and then kind of dive deep there to focus your limited resources.
Okay.
And then it's much helpful. It's easier for us then to come back with additional ways to kind of help you focus that challenge.
Okay, thank you.
I love the gamification idea. One thought was making sure it's not necessarily punitive all the time, right? It could be a simple reminder of, hey, license plate, blah, 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 your registration's expired, just wanted to let you know, right? Or something like a friendly neighborhood reminder as opposed to, you're in my space, move out of my space, right? So I don't know what any other positive things would be, like sweet car, but it might be something to think about, because I was been behind many cars this week where their license plates have expired. They may just have forgotten, but that's a fine, that's a ticket, right?
Exactly.
So just some other positive messages you could get, maybe extra points for being a happy person.
And I do have some listed.
All right. How are we doing on
Oh,
time?
your car window is down. Oh, your lights are on. Those are good ones.
That's awesome.
I love that.
4 minutes.
4 minutes. Okay.
One other thought, I think you have to have an app.
Okay.
There are websites and companies like Como who help you build an app quickly, low cost, just to do a demo and get it started.
Okay.
But I was surprised to see that it's not an app, because I was already trying to find it and download it. Just a thought.
Oh, thank you.
4 more minutes, or 2 minutes. Any more questions? Yeah, I think it has been fantastic feedback. Rex, you want to come up and go ahead? Oh, one last question. Oh, sorry. Yes, one
other thought.
One last question, and then we'll close on that.
My grandkids occasionally has people parking in his parking place, so that would be another spot where you could potentially, another place to sell.
Okay, thank you.
All right, and now I guess the last question.
So amazing app, well, not app, website, soon to be app. My question is what would you like our 1 Million Cups community to do for you going forward?
Going forward, to start, I would love for everyone to like our Facebook page. And then also it would be great if you could invite me out to maybe your next board association meeting, so that way I can present to your community.
You guys almost done?
At the top of the hour.
I think we had at 9:45.
Go do it, John.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. I'd like to have Rod Rodriguez from Puricom. He was our previous presenter about a year ago. And I'd love to hear how things worked out for you. I better hurry this up. Did I mention jiu-jitsu, MMA background, so we can take care of this? Just say the word. That's not on camera. That better not be on camera. I was not threatening that. Anyways, my name is Rod Rodriguez. I'm the founder of Puricom Studios. Again, thank you so much for having me back here. This is an absolute honor. So I'm here to give you an update. So I was here about a year ago, and the update is wow. That's my update. Just absolute wow.
So what was your challenge question?
My challenge question was pretty generic. It was I'm looking for customers. I'm looking for the right customers, because at the time I was getting a lot of folks that just didn't know. They were like, I want a podcast. I don't know what it's about. So your suggestions were overwhelmingly educate your audience, educate your potential customers, let them know a little bit about what a podcast is, because that was the other question. Was I get people coming in, they'd be like, I want a podcast. I'm like, great. Then they'd go, what's a podcast? I'm like, what? Well, I just read in Entrepreneur, I read in Inc. that, if I want my business to be successful, I should have a podcast. And I'm like, oh boy. So now I have to explain to them what it is. So we went on we took your advice, and we went on a bit of a campaign to educate the general public, putting out videos on YouTube and Facebook. And that generated a new problem, actually. And the new problem was, I got people coming to me and they're like, I want a podcast. I'm like, great. And you know what it is? Like, yeah, of course I know what a podcast is. I listen to Joe Rogan. I listen to Entrepreneur on Fire. Jonathan DeMoss is amazing. I'm a big Gary Vaynerchuk fan. And I'm like, great. Do you know what your podcast is about? Business. Okay, I can work with that. Tell me about, now this is the interesting part, and I think some of y'all in this audience this might resonate with, so if I hurt some feelings, I'm sorry. You have an idea, you've got a podcast, you want to go do the videos. What's your following look like? Wah-wah. That's right. That's 100% right. So you've got 300 followers on Facebook. Yay! 2% will follow you. 2% are going to listen to you. So the problem isn't your podcast or your content. The problem is you suck at marketing. You don't know how to market yourself. So you have this great content that's just going into nothing. This is the equivalent of Beethoven playing to the ocean. I'm sure the fish love it, but we didn't get to hear the masterpiece. So this is the problem that we're running into now, is we are now actively looking for people in the marketing field who want to partner with us to help our potential clients who come in those doors, who have low numbers, who don't know how to market themselves, to say, hey, not only can we create this fantastic product for you, we got this wonderful company over here that can help you market that and find the right audience to listen to. So we have generated revenue this year, which is, I know, right? Like, when you're a startup and you're like, what is this black and green on my sheets? I don't know what this even means. Oh, profit? Well, yeah, I was so used to red. I thought the spreadsheets just came in red. I was like, what is this? So yeah, this year has been absolutely wonderful, and I really have a lot of this has to do with coming here and listening to you guys. And just a quick word. When I walked out of this room the first time, I was kind of upset. Won't lie. Because I felt like some of these guys were punching holes in my idea, and they were like making these suggestions, and I was like, well, duh, I know that. And I got really defensive. I didn't do it externally to everyone. I was like, oh, thanks, man, absolutely. And then I walked out, I was like, I had to digest a lot of, I took these cards home, and I swear to God, I put them away, and I didn't look at them for about 2 or 3 days. Then I pulled them out, and I swallowed my pride, and just looked through each one, and I'm like, damn, that's true. Ooh, that's right, damn, I suck. Okay, made my plan of attack, and I said, this is my strategy, using these suggestions, and then a couple of months later, Seda Goff, who's one of my mentors, you might know, some of y'all might know who Seda Goff is, but she's very plugged into the veteran entrepreneur community here. She turned around and she's like, where'd you get these ideas? These are really good. And I'm like, I had to do some soul searching. Read a lot of books. And then I gave a 1 million cup shout out. But thank you to everybody in here who was part of that original group. And take everything, put it away for a day or two, come back, pull it out. And I'm telling you, there's gold in every suggestion here. Even if you don't like it right now, or you don't disagree, or you don't agree, there's a jumping off point. So, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Just a few reminders.